Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of The Big Game. I'm John Sartori alongside Freddie Rosario, and on today's show we'll see if the Saints could continue their winning ways.
And we'll also check in on the men's and women's basketball teams as they tipped off their new seasons.
But first, let's update you on the Southeastern football team as they approach the end of their regular season. The Southeastern football team returned home to Strawberry Stadium for senior night as they entertained the Abilene Christian Wildcats. The Lions were coming off an impressive 30-10 victory on the road over Incarnate Word and were looking to finish the 2016 campaign with a 4-1 record at Strawberry Stadium. Could the Lions avoid the upset? Let's go to the highlights. Southeastern taking on Abilene Christian on senior night, and to begin the ballgame, it's a senior-to-senior connection. Justin Allo finding Jawan Rogers out of the backfield. Whoop! Touchdown. Hurdles the defender into the end zone. 7-0 Southeastern early on senior night. But the Lions were not done as the juice is loose. Julius Marcelin down the sideline inside the 20 to the 18, and that would set up this touchdown connection. It's another senior-to-senior connection. Justin Allo finding Brandon Acker in the end zone. 14-3 the score at that point. Last chance you get the shout out. Now, Southeastern has an 11-point lead, but Torrance Mosley breaks the unwritten rule, fields it inside the 10, and then loses the football. Abilene Christian recovers, and then the do-it-all quarterback for Abilene, Dallas Sealy, he's going to play wide out here, and he's going to find the end zone. 14-10, Abilene Christian still trailing Southeastern. It's 14-13 when Torrance Mosley is going to have a chance to redeem himself. As he fields the punt on the run, gets into Abilene territory. It's the best punt return of the season for Southeastern, as Mosley would get down to the 40-yard line, and that would set up this Julius Marcelin touchdown as he gets in the gold. 21-13 the score. After a Southeastern touchdown made it 28-13, Abilene answers. Josh Fink over the middle on a beautiful catch and run. 28-19. Now, instead of just kicking the extra point, Abilene decides to go for two, and that would be a decision they would live to regret, as the two-point conversion is no good, so the score is still 28-19. But the Wildcats going in to score. Maori Ellison gets the interception deep in Lion territory, and Jonathan Tatum puts the game on ice. 31-19 is the final as Southeastern takes care of Abilene Christian on senior night.
The Big Game's Jordan Reams was down on the sideline during the home finale on Saturday night, and he has the analysis on what went into the Lions' 6th win of the season.
The Lions kicked off their matchup against Abilene Christian with a strong offensive performance, compiling 445 yards of total offense and a rare touchdown from senior fullback Jawan Rogers.
They had like a busted coverage, and I was wide open. The play was tagged to me, and I was wide open. Allo made the play, made the pass, and I caught it. And it just kept running.
Senior night at Strawberry Stadium went well for the Lions, but the emotions of the event itself could not be ignored.
I try not to get in my emotions, but try to get in my feelings about it. But it's a bittersweet moment. I'm gonna miss playing in the stadium.
The Lions were able to pull out the win right here on senior night through the play of running back Julius Marcelin, who had 123 yards on the ground and 1 rushing touchdown. With senior night being over, the Lions can now turn their attention to the Red River Classic against their arch rival, Nicholls State. For The Big Game, I'm Jordan Reams.
The Lions will wrap up their regular season schedule this week as they travel to Nicholls State for the River Belle Classic. And The Big Game's Richie Solaris has the preview of the 2016 version of this heated rivalry matchup.
After defeating the Abilene Christian Wildcats and securing a 3rd winning season under head coach Ron Roberts, the Lions are preparing for the 26th annual River Belle Classic against the Nicholls State Colonels. Nicholls State currently leads the series 13-12 and won the last matchup in 2015 with a score of 27-24. Since their meeting in 2008, the River Belle Classic has been a high-scoring affair. The lowest combined scoring total between the two teams being 45 points when Southeastern won 31-14 in 2010. Southeastern is now on a 2-game winning streak and are ranked 3rd in the Southland Conference with a record of 6-4. The Lions are led by senior quarterback Justin Allo, who, when healthy, has proven to be one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the Southland Conference. Justin Allo has thrown for 1,655 yards, along with 14 passing touchdowns in 8 games this season. Allo has also found some help in breakout star running back Julius Marcelin. In the last 2 games, Marcelin has carried the ball 56 times for 314 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, making the Lions' offense less predictable and more explosive. This year, the Nicholls State Colonels have enjoyed a much improved team from a 3-8 record last season. The team is 4th in the Southland Conference with a record of 5-5. They took 2 close losses this season to FBS opponents, the Georgia Bulldogs with a score of 26-24 and South Alabama with a score of 41-40. Archbishop Rummel graduate and former Louisiana State champion quarterback Chase Forcade leads the Nicholls State Colonels this year. Forcade has been a dominant force and game changer for the Colonels. They have averaged 29.1 points per game with Forcade at the helm. He's thrown for 2,200 yards this year and 15 touchdowns, and he's also added 562 yards and 5 touchdowns in the ground game. The winner of this matchup will finish the season at 3rd place in the Southland Conference and will once again bring home the River Belle Trophy. For the big game, I'm Richie Solaris.
Following a strong performance in the Bay Area, earning a 41-23 win over the San Francisco 49ers, the New Orleans Saints returned to the friendly confines of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to take on the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Denver Broncos. Could the team earn their 3rd straight win and get over the 500 mark for the first time this year? Let's head out to the Superdome for the highlights. Broncos taking on the Saints in the Superdome. We start with Denver quarterback Trevor Siemian throwing a touchdown pass to Jordan Taylor, and after a review, given the touchdown, and they're up 7-0. Breeze on the next drive, going for the end zone, and it'll be picked off by Darian Stewart. He's going to keep out for that man throughout the rest of the game. As the Saints get the ball back, and on the first play, it is tipped and caught by Stewart again. His 3rd interception of the season and his 2nd of the day. Now it's the Saints' turn to intercept the pass as Sterling Moore gets his 2nd interception of the season, as the Saints would get a field goal and end the first half 10-3. The Saints looking early in the 3rd quarter as they will get Brandon Cooks down to the 3-yard line, and on the next play, Drew Brees finds Willie Snead for the touchdown to tie it up at 10. After another Siemian interception, it's Brees to Snead again. Snead's 4th touchdown of the year. The Saints driving as it'll be Michael Thomas, but he gets the ball punched out, and there's that man again. Darian Stewart comes away with the fumble recovery, giving the Broncos great field position, and they would capitalize as it is Siemian going to be to Demarius Thomas on the fade route. Many people want to get rid of the fade route. Works for the Broncos there, as you see Thomas slam the ball into the ground. Everybody seems to be angry at the balls this year, as it is now Breeze trying to get the Saints back into it and completes it to Cooks, as he'll come down with it 4-6, the extra point. A give-me point, right? But it'll be blocked by the leaping Justin Simmons and returned by Will Parks for the 2-point play. A lot of things involved on this play. A lot of things that the fans of New Orleans don't like. Will Lutz confused. Sean Payton not liking it. Drew Brees looking for the replay, as you see there. Park clearly stepping out of bounds. Whether the block was illegal or not, it's reviewed, given to the Broncos, and this just in, all the white football cleats are sold out on Amazon and all the major retailers as the Broncos get the win 25-23. Drew Brees with 303 yards and 3 touchdowns, as Siemian goes for 258 and 2 touchdowns. Both quarterbacks with 2 interceptions, but Siemian and the Broncos come away with the victory. For the first time in big game history, cameraman extraordinaire Colton Vickers was sent out to be in front of the camera rather than behind it for the Saints this week, as he has the analysis on the Black and Gold's controversial loss to the Broncos.
Coming off a win against the San Francisco 49ers, the New Orleans Saints were looking to get back to over 500 for the first time in 2 seasons when they took on the Denver Broncos. After giving up a 14-yard touchdown pass from Trevor Siemian to wide receiver Jordan Taylor and a 50-yard field goal from Brandon McManus, the Saints offense went to work. With 36 seconds left in the half, an interception by Sterling Moore would set the Saints up at their own 38-yard line. Drew Brees led his team into field goal range, where Will Lutz would convert on a 30-yard field goal. In the second half, New Orleans quarterback Drew Brees would find Brandon Cooks for a 37-yard reception. The very next play, Breeze connected to Willie Snead, wide open in the end zone. Later in the third, Kenny Vaccaro would pick off Simeon to set the Saints up at the Denver 38. Breeze would then connect with Snead again from 5 yards for the touchdown. Turnovers have killed the Saints all season, and in the third quarter, Breeze connected with Michael Thomas, who would then fumble, and Broncos' Darian Stewart recovered.
Young guy, made a bunch of big plays for us this year, and unfortunately had two that got coughed up today. But he's such a competitive guy, such a conscientious guy. I mean, he was taking it hard, but just tell him keep his head up. We're going to need to make some plays down the stretch.
In the fourth, the Broncos would tie it up on a 2-yard touchdown to Demaryius Thomas. After a Saints 3-and-out, the Broncos would drive 43 yards on 10 plays to take the lead back with a 28-yard field goal. With just over 3 minutes to go, Breeze found Michael Thomas, who again would fumble, setting up Denver in Saints territory.
Nobody wants to fumble, no one wants to put the ball on the ground. Well, I told him just to keep his head right. I told him that we was going to need him next drive. His defense was going to get a field goal, and we was going to go down and score a touchdown. I didn't get the extra point right, but
the Broncos would only manage to convert the turnover into 3 points on a 37-yarder from McManus. After the Broncos field goal, Drew Brees would work his magic again, driving 75 yards to find Brandon Cooks for the touchdown. It appeared that Drew Brees had pulled off yet another fourth-quarter game-winning drive with a connection to Brandon Cooks in the end zone. But the Denver Broncos special teams unit had a different idea when they blocked the extra point and returned it 84 yards to take a 2-point lead. The Saints looked to rebound against Carolina in a Thursday night matchup. For the big game, I'm Colton Vickers.
Coming up after the break, we'll get updates on how the basketball teams fared in their opening matchups. The big game will return in moments. Welcome back to the big game. The Southeastern soccer team was able to overcome a slow start to their 2016 season and earn a spot in the Southland Conference tournament. The Lady Lions entered the tournament as the number 7 seed and drew the number 2 seeded Houston Baptist Huskies in the first round. The Lady Lions scored first but could not overcome the Lady Husky attack as they fell 2-1. Houston Baptist would go on to win the tournament, earning the Southland Conference's automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. The Lady Lions finished up their 2016 season with a record of 7-11-2.
The Lady Lion volleyball team wrapped up the regular season last week looking to lock up one of the final spots in the Southland Conference tournament. The Big Game's Andrew Dismukes has the verdict on whether or not the Lady Lions will be playing in the postseason.
After a long, tumultuous season, the Southeastern volleyball team is just one win away from possibly clinching the final spot in the Southland Conference tournament. In addition to a victory against UNO, the Lady Lions will need either Lamar or McNeese State to lose their upcoming game, both of whom have just one more conference win over Southeastern. Fortunately for the Green and Gold, both Lamar and McNeese State lost their regular season finale games to open up a big opportunity for the Lady Lions to earn a berth in the Southland Conference tournament. The Lady Lions will need to fix some early season mistakes if they want to come away with a victory against the Privateers.
I think some things that we can improve on for the team is our passing, start off consistent with our passing, putting the ball away as a team, being consistent.
Southeastern and UNO are familiar foes, with UNO winning their first encounter of the season. Coincidentally, it was also UNO's only conference win on the season. Southeastern dropped the first set to the Privateers, but rebounded, winning the second and third set before putting the nail in the coffin for the Privateers in the fifth and deciding set. In the big victory against UNO, communication among the players on the court was a huge factor in the victory.
When we are all on, we're talking, we're loud, we're connecting, everything just kind of flows and fits in, right, and it's very successful.
The Lady Lions enter the conference tournament as a 7th seed and will play against the 2nd-seeded Stephen F. Austin in the first round. Stephen F. Austin came away with the victory the last time these two played, but it did not rattle them. In fact, it motivated some of the players.
Well, I think our philosophy is always to learn from the past. Even during the game, the mistake you just made, don't dwell on it, but learn from it so you don't do it again. That match, I think, we'll watch film again today, and they're going to see that a lot of it was just our mistakes, and that it is within our grasp, if we play our best, that we can beat them.
The Lady Lions will travel to Conway, Arkansas to play Stephen F. Austin on Friday, November 18, 2016 at 11 a.m. to begin their conference tournament journey. For the big game, I'm Andrew Dismukes.
The Lion golf team recently wrapped up their fall season. The big game's Jalen Morris headed out to the links to catch up with the team as they engaged in their final tune-up for the spring semester.
The Southeastern golf team finished 7th to wrap up their last tournament of the fall season at the ULM Duck Commander Intercollegiate. Senior Paul Oberman and sophomore William Myers tied for 10th place. Despite the tough golf course, Coach Snero was proud of how his team played.
It was a tough golf course, and it's funny how momentum can switch sometimes. And if we grabbed a little, it seemed as if whenever we grabbed a little momentum, we immediately let it go. We had a couple top 10 finishes individually, which was good. We just didn't quite get it all going together at the same time.
Since the fall season is over, some of the players look back on some of their favorite moments this semester. Some players have moments from this season they will never forget.
This fall, my favorite tournament was the LSU tournament. My parents actually came all the way from New Zealand to watch me, which was awesome. So that's the first tournament that I've watched over here since I've been here. Probably the first tournament I've probably properly seen me playing. And that was a great tournament. I played good. I had a great time. It was nice just having them there. It was a great week, basically.
Already looking ahead towards the spring season, the team wants to focus on ways they can improve.
We got to be our consistency needs to improve. Where our good is always real good, but our bad is a little too bad. So if we can bring that up just a little bit, we'll have a great spring.
For some seniors, this upcoming spring season will be the last season they will ever play the game they love so much. Players reflect on what they will miss about playing for Southeastern.
I'm going to miss this group I have, this friends I have, this family I've made here, and the competition I have with them, and the competition and the shared interests we all have. So that's something that's been really pushing, and it's probably what I'm going to miss the most, because at the end of the day, golf's an individual sport.
You can follow the golf team when they open up the spring season in Houston, Texas for the All-American Intercollegiate in February. For the big game, I'm Jalen Morris.
The Southeastern cross-country teams headed out to the Southland Conference Championships looking to finish up an excellent season on a high note. The young team, which features just 4 seniors, 2 men and 2 women, exceeded expectations all year long. Both the men and women finished 10th out of 13 teams at the meet. The men were paced by Grant O'Callahan, who finished 55th, while Clarissa Smith was the best finisher for the Lady Lions, finishing in 23rd. The cross-country team finishes up 2016 with a victory at the UNO Invitational and top 3 finishes at the McNeese Invitational and Choctaw Open.
The Southeastern men's basketball team tipped off last Friday looking to build on the momentum they found towards the end of last season. The Lions hosted Millsaps and dominated their opponent 85-39 to earn their first victory of the season and their 8th straight home win. The Lions headed out to New Orleans to take on in-state rival Tulane and kept it close with their rival until the Green Wave earned a 93-76 victory. The Lions will take on Jackson State and Xavier of New Orleans at home to finish up the games of this week.
The Aero Golf era tipped off this past week for Southeastern women's basketball. The Lady Lions were bested by SEC opponent Ole Miss by a score of 81-31. Unfazed by the poor effort, the Lady Lions had their eyes set on an upset of the University of Houston. Unfortunately for the Lady Lions, the upset bid fell short and Southeastern fell 83-80. The Lady Lions will open up the home portion of their schedule as they welcome the University of Mobile to the University Center before traveling to Waco, Texas to take on powerhouse Baylor.
When we return, Zachariah Cameron will join us on the desk for some pick and roll. Don't go anywhere.
The Southeastern Channel offers a lot for a sports fan.
Coaches shows, interviews with student athletes.
Football games, baseball games, basketball games.
I enjoy watching the coaches' insight programs after the online tracks because it does give our fans an insight of what happened during the game.
I enjoy watching the big game. You know, it gives me an opportunity to keep up with Southeastern athletics on a weekly basis. You know, not just football, baseball, basketball, but even the smaller sports, you know, like soccer and volleyball.
One of the things I've enjoyed most through the years watching is the production of the glory years.
It's a history, it's a documentation
of where we've come from around here.
Solidified the reason why we brought Southeastern football back.
When the Southeastern Channel replays games, it helps the students be able to catch up and see what's going on.
I like to watch the baseball games and the football games.
It's the only time I get to watch Southeastern football is I get to see it on television. I don't ever have time to go.
Even athletics can be an educational experience when you involve the Southeastern Channel.
Welcome back to The Big Game. I'm John Sartori alongside Freddie Rosario, and joining us now on the desk is our guest expert, Zachariah Cameron. Zachariah, it's good to see you again, man. I missed you.
Thank you, John. I missed both of you as well.
Yeah, man. I can't wait, man. The last time was great. It's going to be a good one this time.
I think the same thing.
Let's hope.
Hopefully I don't have to make any predictions.
We'll see. So we're going to start with Southeastern football. Freddie, get scared. You might have to make a prediction. But they are going up to Nicholls State for the Riverville Classic this week, trying to stay alive for FCS playoff eligibility. Zach, what's it going to take for Southeastern to get a win in that rivalry game?
You know, I feel like defense has to be big. The defense for Southeastern improved in the second half against Abilene Christian, and that helped them come away with the win. Also, the connection from Allo to Acker, that's big. Southeastern needs Acker. Acker have a big game, as well as Juice Marcelin. He's been playing well, and I expect him to keep it up.
And Freddie, what are your keys to victory? It's a team Southeastern that has played really well at home this year, has not played as well on the road, and also, just to get you scared, what's your prediction for the game?
All right, well, one thing that I've kind of seen in all the Southeastern's wins thus far this season is they've run the football consistently well in those games that they've won. Whether it's Allo or Deshae at quarterback, the running game has always been the most consistent part of their offense, and Marcelin is just completely gone off the deep end. The last few games have just gone off. He's playing like Ezekiel Elliott in the NFL right now, just 200 yards, 100 yards here and there, 2 touchdowns. He's done a great job, and if they can ride Marcelin, and they will get the win against Nicholls if Marcelin has a good game.
Zach, real quick, what's your prediction?
I have Southeastern winning 27-24, sweet revenge.
Absolutely, got to get the River Belle back after that heartbreaking loss last year. Our second topic, the New Orleans Saints, that controversial loss. Will Parks, did he step out? Didn't he? Zach, did he step out? And what do the Saints have to do to get back to their winning ways?
Oh, Will Parks did step out of bounds. For the Saints to get back to their winning ways, you know, I was pretty content with how the D-line played. Nick Fairley got some sacks. Sheldon Rankins played well. But offense needs to limit the turnovers. You know. If you don't turn the ball over, you should be in pretty good shape to win.
And Freddie, I'm asking the same question. Did he step out of bounds or didn't he? And as the Saints move on, it seems like this team that has always played so well at home is actually playing better on the road this year.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look at the video, clearly steps out of bounds. I guarantee you this week, many more NFL players are going to be wearing some white cleats on the sidelines. They should probably figure out something with that in the NFL. But the Saints, they just they're hit or miss at home thus far. And back in 2006, they were undefeated at home. No one could beat the Saints. No, you were scared to come into the Superdome and play the Saints. Now it's the Saints are just kind of there, and the offense, if it turns the ball over, they're going to lose. If they get a good play out of Drew Brees, they're going to win. The rushing attack has really never been there this year for the Saints. They had the one good game from Mark Ingram. He comes back this week, 50 yards rushing. So it's a multitude of things for the Saints on offense, and it was a sloppy game on both sides of the ball for Denver and for New Orleans. So you really can't take that into account. If they clean up the turnovers, clean up the penalties, they're one call away from getting that victory right there at the end of the ball game. A lot of things happened on that play, a lot of things that probably should have been reviewed, probably should have been overturned right then and there, but you can't look at 2020, so you just have to push forward. And the Saints have the offense capability to go on and win more games this season and probably win the division with the way the other teams are playing, but they just need to get that defense sorted out. And they force turnovers, they're getting sacks and pressure, so if they can continue that going into the rest of the season, Saints are going to be a scary team.
2 things. You said back in 2006, I was also undefeated at home in 2006 in Madden. And then that was a very Richie Solaris answer. I got to give you credit. You talked for like a minute and a half.
I mean, yeah, I'm proud of myself for that one.
You want some water?
Yeah, I might need some. Richie's kind of been going off on me for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just rubbing off and just giving big answers. I gave some history, went back to 2006.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is a Richie Solaris answer right there. Okay, our third topic, throw y'all a curveball here. The college football playoff rankings come out, and there's been a lot of controversy with those, with 2 teams who lost last week, Clemson and Michigan, both in the top 4. Zach, what do you make of those rankings?
I agree with Michigan remaining in the top 4, but Clemson, no. I feel Louisville, even though Clemson did beat Louisville, I feel like Louisville has been playing well as of late. Clemson just come off a loss. So they can be in the top, below the top 4 for a few weeks, and we can see how they play the rest of the year. But I feel like Louisville deserves that spot now.
And Freddie, is there a difference that you'd like to see in those top 4, besides Michigan State?
Well, Michigan should probably be in there. They lost a really close game right there at the end, but it's super early. Really, the college football ranking shouldn't come out until we have, like, all the champions in each league. And, like, I really don't buy into having it ranked out every single week. Who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3. Like, let's get the division champions in there, and then let's move on from there. Because at the end of the season, we could stack up all their schedules and see who lost to who. And when you have the champions crowned in each conference, those are who are going to be the top 4, and then one person's going to get left out, obviously, because there's only 4 teams. Move to the 32-round system. We'll be hitting it there. That'll be the best college football season ever. We get 32 teams in the playoffs. But as it is right now, really the rankings are just there for people to just say their team's number 1 or number 2 or whatever they are. But when the champions are crowned, that's when I really care about the rankings.
Absolutely. It's been a wild year. I think the biggest surprise, though, is Western Michigan is undefeated and beating teams by an average of almost 40 points, getting no respect, ranked 21st. 21st. Meanwhile, USC, who people after week 3 are talking about, they're completely done. They're 13th in the country. They're probably not going to make the playoff, but they're 13th. So, again, like you said, the playoff rankings, I don't think they have the right people in there, to be honest. Penn State is a top 10 program on what merit? So we'll see how it plays out. It'll play itself out with Michigan playing Ohio State. That's going to be your Big Ten representative, and we'll see how the rest plays out. Our final topic, I don't want to get too far into it because this is what my quick hit topic is, but the New Orleans Baby Cakes. The New Orleans Baby Cakes, the nickname was announced last night. Zach, give me one word to describe your reaction.
Stunned.
And Freddie, what is your word?
I can't even come up with one word. I was just so angry when that team they came out, because I remember when they released the fan voted options and we were going through them and it was like, okay, that's Night Owls is cool, this is cool, and unanimously everyone on the big game was like, it better not be the Baby Cakes, because that is obviously the worst team name. And here we are with New Orleans only being known for Mardi Gras and alcohol. What else can you go with? I would have preferred the New Orleans Bourbons, like my mom told me yesterday. I was like, they should have hired you to name the team. New Orleans Bourbon would have been great, but the Baby Cakes with Mardi Gras, I guess that's New Orleans for you.
Well, of course, we celebrate Mardi Gras year-round, so there's that.
Another reason to wear purple and gold and green.
Absolutely, because there's so many reasons anyway. We'll talk more about the New Orleans Baby Cakes when we come back during Quick Hits to wrap up this episode of The Big Game. We'll be right back.
For The Big Game, I'm Richard Mills.
For The Big Game, I'm Colton.
For The Big Game, I'm Dominique Rogel. For The Big Game, I'm Nicole Fechet.
Warning for The Big Game, I'm Tyler Wagensback.
Welcome back to The Big Game. Let's finish this show off with some quick hits. This week, the New Orleans Zephyrs, the AAA affiliates of the Miami Marlins, who have called the New Orleans area home since 1993, rebranded themselves as the New Orleans Baby Cakes. The nickname Zephyr was coincidentally a fit to New Orleans thanks to the Mega Zeph roller coaster on Pontchartrain Beach. The name actually came with the team when they relocated from Denver in the early 1990s. So when team president Cookie Rojas announced the team would be rebranding themselves to better fit New Orleans, the argument could have been made that the change was needed to better fit the city. After all, attendance for Zephyrs games has been towards the bottom of the Pacific Coast League since 2010, and the team has not reached the playoffs since the 2007 season. Maybe it was time for a fresh start, but after last night and hearing the announcement of Baby Cakes, I'm thinking differently. This new ownership group and front office staff have blatantly ignored their own fan base's pleas to not change the name, especially to something as laughable as Baby Cakes. They do not respect their fan base, and will find out soon enough that by simply changing the team moniker, they will run their own franchise into a hole bigger than the one they already inherited.
This isn't the first time I've talked about rebuilding on this show, and it might not be the last. With rebuilding, usually a team makes a concerted effort to go younger and acquire minor league prospects, and trading veteran players for more draft picks and other prospects. Up until this point, the Atlanta Braves have done that in anticipation of the opening of their new stadium in 2017. The teams that won back-to-back 90-win seasons in 2012 and 2013 was completely gutted, and the only two starters remaining from the 2013 starting lineup are Julio Teheran and Freddie Freeman. The Braves boast one of the top farm systems in baseball, and the young talent they've accumulated showed promise in the late stages of the 2016 season. But in the past week, the Braves have acquired 42-year-old R.A. Dickey and 43-year-old Bartolo Colon. This is in no way in line with what the Braves have done in the past 2 years. Colon has shown that he can still pitch at the major league level and provide a veteran presence for the Mets when they made their run at the World Series in 2015. But R.A. Dickey has been unable to recreate the magic of his 2012 Cy Young Award winning season since moving to the American League. A return to the National League might prove beneficial for Dickey, but the Braves will have one of the youngest rosters in baseball, and having 2 players combined at an age of 85 is concerning. The Braves starting rotation struggled last season, with 16 different pitchers taking the mound and an ERA around 5. In my opinion, the Braves should stay young and ride the young arms they are developing. The Braves have low expectations for next year and should take advantage of that by allowing their young prospects major league playing time.
With college basketball back in full swing, the topic of one-and-done athletes has returned. In June, 10 freshmen were selected during the first round of the NBA draft. The top 3 were Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Jaylen Brown. My stance on this rule has not changed one bit. If I was Mark Emmert, president of the NCAA, I would make players stay for all 4 seasons, and even force them to stay for the redshirt senior season if they have not yet graduated. It would be hard to make a rule to force players to stay for all 4 seasons, but if they can go the same route as the NFL and make players stay for at least 3 years after high school, that would be good. Now, athletes would be more than halfway to earning their degrees. It will also make fans happy because of the better competition. Imagine if John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davis were all on the same Kentucky team. College basketball is great, but just think how much better it would be without this rule.
I would love to imagine that world, Zach. That'll do it for this episode of The Big Game. We hope you join us next time for some more Lion Sports. For the latest in Southeastern athletics, visit www.lionsports.net. For Zachariah Cameron and Freddie Rosario, I'm John Sartori. We will see you next time right here on The Big Game.